Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my humble home, my humble casa, my hacienda on the windy hills of Livingston, Montana. Okay, today's date is the 17th of May of 2022. Now, what this video is about here is I'm basically giving up reviewing knives. Now, don't run away. Don't click out of here because you may learn something. And before I get started, in no way, shape, or form am I coming down or putting down or any disrespect for these guys that do knife reviews. They've got knife channels. They're enamored by knives. They've got big knife collections, like that. Whatever a person wants to do. This is just what I'm doing and my feelings and my thoughts about the whole subject of knife collecting, etc., etc. So don't get all Amber Heard on me. I'm just kidding. Don't get all freaked out and twisted up. Good grief. I don't even know how to go about making this video, but I'm just going to stumble through it. Okay, this last month or so, basically what I did is every crappy Oriental Express, whatever you want to call it, everyday carry knife that I had laying around my house here, I up and gave every single one of them away. And matter of fact, in my entire life, I estimate that I've given away somewhere around 3 dozen knives, maybe even as high as 50 knives. That's one of the reasons why I really don't have or never have had a big collection, because I buy them, fumble around with them for a while, use them for a while, and give them away. They make excellent presents, by the way. Okay, now if you're not being Amber Heard on me, I'm just kidding. Don't. I'm going to tell you what the fascination with knives are. But before I do that, I want to explain to you why I think that people collect knives. Personally, myself, I can't afford to do it. I can't afford to keep up with the market. But just to keep this interesting, I'm going to show you briefly 3 knives right here. You can see them. This is the end of the box. At least I hope you can see them anyway. My autofocus is probably not working all that great. But anyway, I'm gonna be showing you those knives here, but here it is, ladies and gentlemen, real quick. The reason why in this day and age, I think that I know how people can get enamored, attached, want to have big knife collections and stuff like this. But here it is. These manufactured factory knives don't really fill the need that some of us sportsmen, some of us people that mess around with knives a lot, it really doesn't fill the need, so to speak. And I'm going to tell you why. You take like 200-300 years ago, when people would either go to their local blacksmith or they would just make knives themselves, homemade knives. They'd either pound them out themselves or go to a blacksmith, have them, they'd say, okay, can you build me a knife like this with a handle like this and, in a shape like this and all this. There was a lot more traditional handmade kind of activity going on. So a knife meant something. Now, in this day and age, with factory knives, manufactured knives, and whatever have you, you can own 50 of them, and it doesn't fill that need of like it's really yours. It's really handmade. Key in on that, handmade. Knives anymore in this day and age are not handmade unless you're a private knife maker, which I've known a few of them in my day. And matter of fact, in my lifetime, I've had one custom knife made under my exact directions. I had a lot to do with it, but I didn't physically do anything. And I've made 2 other knives. So I know what goes into knives. I know precisely what goes into knives. I don't consider myself an expert, but I consider myself an expert when it comes to using knives, not collecting knives. I mean, a kid like me go broke trying to do this stuff. For you folks that do this, that collect knives and got big knife shows, and there's a lot of them on YouTube here, God bless you, you know, and all that stuff. You got way more patience than I do, because as far as I'm concerned, there's a lot of good knives out there and there's a lot of junk out there. But like I just got done saying, this last month, I gave away the rest of the knives that I had. The only knives I really got, I've got a few old knives downstairs that, you know, haven't seen the light of day forever. And I've got an 8-knife collection of handmade German Pumas hunting knives. I've showed that on my channel many, many times, those hunting knives. They ain't going nowhere. I ain't giving them to anybody or none of that other kind of stuff. So once I got, this last month, once I got rid of all my knives, I replaced them with these knives right here, which I will, you know, I will show, you know, but this is not going to be a knife review. As a matter of fact, I may do just one more movie file, but this is either going to be my last movie file on knives or my second to the last. I don't know. I haven't made up my mind yet. Okay, this right here, as you can see, I've got 3 different boxes here, 3 different classes of Benchmade knives. And yes, these are real knives. No, these aren't fake knives or counterfeits or whatever have you. Okay, the very first knife that I've got here, I've got kind of the way this is, ladies and gentlemen. I've got a baby knife, a mama knife, and a papa knife, if you will, if that makes any sense. It's because of the size. And these are the knives that I picked out. These will be my everyday carries up to a point. I don't even like this word rotation. I hear these guys going, well, I'm going to put this knife in my rotation and blah, blah, blah. Look, if the knife was good enough, if it's a good knife, why rotate it anywhere? What's this nonsense? There's a bunch of stuff that goes on in the knife market that I just plain and simple don't understand. Now catch this. How many different ways are there to invent the wheel? Not too many. And so it's the same way it is with knives. They just come up with different shapes, different materials, etc., but it still remains a knife. Okay. Here, this right here is an old school knife right here. It's called a Proper. It's a Benchmade Proper. I know you can't see that very well. My lighting is a little haywire in here. But this is a slip joint knife. When I was a kid, I'm 70 years old, started packing a knife when I was in the 4th grade. All we used to get was those old Imperial slip joints, yellow handle jobbers. You guys know what I'm talking about. They're about this long. You could get them anywhere from $1 to $5. We carved up half of the forest in Montana as kids with those cheap old $1 Imperial knives. And here I am sitting around with knives that cost hundreds of dollars, and they're like a museum piece. Personally, I don't think these things should be like that. I think a person should use knives. Like in my case, I'd rather be known as a knife user than a knife collector, okay? But the first knife I want to show you real quick right here is a real small slip joint. It's like the old traditional knives. Here it is. I've got it in a real nice little case right here, one of these slip cases, okay? But this right here, ladies and gentlemen, is a slip joint. You know, it's not a locking knife at all. I hope you can see this, okay? I'm not doing a review on this. This knife right here will set you back about $140, which is quite a bit of money for just a non-locking slip joint knife. But believe you me, when I was a kid, this is all we had, and it was all we cared to have. We didn't care to... We just wanted a knife to do us some kind of carving. We used to carve spears and bows and little wooden plaques and, just carved wood for fires and all that kind of stuff with just these little slip joint knives like this, This is a doggone nice little knife as far as I'm concerned. And yes, it is a Benchmade. It's what they call a Proper. This is a model 319. And so, in other words, what you're looking at is a facsimile, if you will, a copy, not quite a copy, but an example of what I used to have when I was a kid. So there you are with that. Let me fold this up and get on. Put this back in here again. These, if you guys get into these old slip joints like this, getting one of these slip carriers is the way to go. You see how that goes, and you just shove it down in your pocket and got a little lanyard right here. Good for the go. Okay, that's my first one that I used, and if I didn't say this, the reason being is because this is the end of me collecting knives. Well, I've got actually one more coming, but these 3 knives that I bought right here is what I'm going to use for any kind of EDC rotation, even though I don't like that word. Because if you've got a good knife, you shouldn't have to rotate it. Whatever. Okay, and the next size of knife I have comes in this Hunt series. This right here, by the way, this blue box right here is their everyday, Benchmade's everyday carry. This is their one of their hunting series. This is called the North Fork, and this has all been validated. This is this knife right here is genuine. It isn't a fake or a copy. Oh man, my light's all screwy here. Anyway, it's a North Fork, whether you can see all that or not. It doesn't really matter. Well, let's see. I think I've seen it start to come into focus right there. Yeah, there we go. Okay. And let me show you this North Fork here. This is supposedly supposed to be a hunting knife. It's a little on the small side, but I've handled enough knives. I field dressed enough deer, about 50 of them, by the way, that I could make this knife work. But it is a little on the small side for being a hunting knife, but it is a really nice little knife, as far as I'm concerned. So there you go. It's got that famous Axis lock on there, and this is some people think that this is some kind of fake wood. It's not. It's stabilized wood. What they do is they heat this wood up till it's pretty doggone dry, really, really super dry. They compress it, and then they impregnate this wood with a resin. That's all this is. It's fortified wood, if you will. The grain pattern on this is pretty dark, then I don't care, As long as it's an authentic Benchmade knife, I'm happy with it all. But this is a North Fork. It comes out of their hunting series. Got liners. I like knives that got liners. I don't really care for the ones that don't have liners and like that. So, there's that particular knife right there. Like I say, it's a flipper. It's got the Axis lock right there. It all works real well. Nice. So this lanyard I have on here is a little bit big, but what the heck? I don't care about that so much. Let me see if I can. Okay, let me tuck that away. Okay, because I figure that if I can't get by with 3 knives, I might as well just quit. Quit on whatever I'm doing, Why do things not want to cooperate when you're recording? I'd like to know that. Okay, let me put the North Fork away. And the last knife this is out of their Benchmade's Tactical series. It's called a Mini Adamas. And this one right here happens to be a limited edition. Let me get that up there. It's a limited edition I got from Smoky Mountain Knife. Smoky Mountain Knife Works. I don't think this is going to come into focus. There we go. Anyway, yeah, so let's take a look at this. And this is, like I say, it comes out of their Tactical series. It's a nice knife, real nice knife, as a matter of fact. I hope I never have to, buy this all over again, because this knife here cost over $200, and then that hunt knife, that North Fork I just showed you, that was $180. So, some of this stuff is too expensive for that. For a person that's first getting into knives, I feel sorry for you, because it's a jungle out there. I'd like to be able to whittle this whole thing down so it wasn't so much of a jungle and say, hey, buy this knife, buy that knife, this is a good knife, that's a good knife, but I can't. I just can't. I can't keep up with it, you know. Okay, this right here is a mini Adamas, a dumbass. I'm just kidding. Don't get all uptight here. It's called an Adamas, okay? But anyway, it's got purple, what is that stuff? Micarta. Purple micarta, maroon micarta on the handle. You know, what is this? Oh, yeah. Crew wear on that blade. A very nice knife, you know. So, but really, I didn't want to flash these knives in front of you guys so much as I did. What's more important to me is I explain myself. You know, I've been handling knives for 50, 60 years. And I just can't see having a bunch of knives laying around, you know, and not using them. And like I say, don't get Amber Heard on me. If you're a collector, if you like to hoard knives, I'm just kidding about that, or whatever, that's your business. I just don't want to do it because I'd rather be a user than a gatherer, so to speak, than a collector. But this is kind of a special knife right here. This is, you know, it's a special edition. Maybe I can get you to, maybe you can see that. I don't know. Or limited edition or whatever they call it. Come on, baby, focus. Well, anyway, right there below Seabird, it says that anyway. Trust me. So those are the three knives that I set with right now, and I got rid of all my Orient Express knives or any other knife that wasn't cutting it with me, and that's where I'm going to stay. I've got one more knife coming that'll probably be my everyday carry, and I may show that to you folks, and I may not, but I just wanted to make these few statements, you know, about, you know, how we've gotten away from homemade knives. You know, personally myself, when it comes to these manufactured knives, I never really feel like they're mine. I think that's the reason why I give them away, because I know what it's like to have a homemade knife. I had one for years and years and years. Where's it at right now? My grandson's got it. I gave it to him. I'd given away a small fortune in knives, you know. So, I mean, if you want to do that, fine. But it never, the people I gave knives to, I'm sure they appreciated it, but it didn't help my wallet none, you know. So, and can I offer advice on buying a good knife? Not at this particular time, I'm not going to, just because it's a jungle out there. You know, Boker makes some pretty good, relatively cheap knives. Case makes some, you know, a lot of their knives made here in the United States. They're not too expensive. These Benchmades, on the other hand, are very expensive knives, but there's some good ones out there, and I may do one more file on that subject there, but this is all I got for right now. I replaced every one of my Oriental Express knives and all out there, and all that I'm kind of laughing because I was out kidding around with the wife, and I've been kind of getting, you know, absorbed, not real absorbed, but with that Johnny Depp and Amber Heard thing, man, I can't believe that. But I'm not here to talk about that. But I was talking to the wife this morning. I was kidding around with her, and I promised I wouldn't get Johnny Depp on her. Just kidding. You know, laugh a little bit, you know. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. What do I got here? Look at this, man. 20 minutes. Man, I can't believe this. See, this is what happens. These are tough to do. 20 minutes of staring at this miserable webcam here. Good grief almighty, man, you know. But anyway, to wrap up, I hope you get it here, you know. We've gotten disconnected from homemade knives. You know, personally myself, I've given away a lot of knives. I really don't like collecting them. I'd rather use them. Now, this is just me talking, okay? And so We're coming right up on 20 minutes. Maybe I can time this just right so I can quit there at 20 minutes. But I appreciate you folks. Take care of yourselves, and we shall see you on down the trail. Adios.